Chairman, thank you very much. At times I feel like looking at a PowerPoint gets old, so I put together just a series of slides in the handout you have in front of you. I don't believe there's any new information here except maybe one towards the last, other than what was in the letter of request. What we're asking is approval to increase our current building fee from $12 a credit hour to a maximum of $15 a credit hour. I realize that will make us the most expensive two-year college around in terms of building fee, but if you take 60 credit hours to complete a degree, that's a $180 increase in the cost of your degree. So I think it's reasonable. The other thing I believe is critical is realizing that in the state of Florida, unlike other states I've been at, we have no dedicated resources of capital improvement funds. Whether it's Florida or Iowa, we always had funds that came basically through bond issues by either the state or your local service area, where the debt was retired by the folks who issued the bonds, which would be your local district or the state of Florida. We do not have that in Alabama, so unfortunately many times the only recourse we have, other than saving and saving and saving, and as long as we save, the further we save, the more we save, the longer we put off the building, the more deteriorated. So it's almost a big vicious circle. So we would like very much for you to consider doing that. The reason is we have about a $7 million capital project that we need to immediately take some work on as soon as we can. As we mentioned before, we have the McCain building, which I know a couple of you have been able to see on campus, that had a catastrophic failure of all the mechanicals, and so we've vacated that building now and spread those essential student services throughout campus. And so that would be the project. The approach is very simple. Rather than the university approach, which is design the building and then tell them how much money we need, we figured out how much money we could afford, and we will build a building within that, and that whole project would obviously come back to you for approval. In the past 10 years, we increased the building fee only once, and at that point in time, it was a radical increase from $4 an hour to $12, and that was absolutely essential. Even at $12 a credit hour, it did not cover the debt service. It came up a little bit short. On the next page, you can see a chart of the options we considered. The first one shows you what the debt service was and the difference in the amount collected versus what we had to subsidize out of operating funds. In 2011, that amount was $246,800 a year. That's a very large chunk out of our operating budget. The three options we looked at, quite honestly, would give us different variances. If we only went up to $13 a credit hour, that difference, which right now is $64,000, would jump to $132,000. If we went with $14 a credit hour, we would still increase our subsidization of our debt service by $10,000 to $74,000. We settled on $15 a credit hour with an average annual credit load of $58,000 because that cuts that deficit down to $16,000. Still not 100% covering it. One of the questions that Joe asked over and over is how will it impact students wanting to come to school? The next slide has that question, and the very last one, the last page, I went back and I said, okay, let's look at historical data. And that gives you the impact. Bear in mind that during this time we also had the major recession. Major recession sometimes leads to an increase of enrollment, which you see in 2009, 10, and 11. And it's very interesting to me personally, as unemployment has gone down, usually community college enrollment goes down. And I tracked unemployment. We've been able to successfully stay even. We haven't lost significantly. There's a jump in credit hours in 15-16 that we've analyzed every way possible. Can't quite figure out what came to cause that. I wish I could so we could keep it. But we are currently this year right on track to be up again for next year. Just a little bit, but not a lot. So that's the request. I don't believe it will have a long-term negative impact on the numbers of students coming to Snead State Community College, and $180 increase in the cost of the degree I don't believe is something that's out of bounds so that we have a significant improvement in the facilities for students. And I'm free to answer questions.
Is there any one of these that you recommend as one other than looking at 5 options?
If you look at the option in bold at the end, that's the one we settled on. $15 a credit hour, that's a $3 increase. That allows us to cover nearly 100% of our estimated debt service.
Well, and you're also estimating it on a conservative.
Yes, sir.
Credit hours, 88,000, but you've been above
Yeah.
last several years.
Probation is $3.
Yes, sir. I wish we had a long-term solution. To be honest, that's something I constantly speak to our legislative delegation about, is that the community college system needs a long-term solution to capital improvement projects. Right now, it is a very difficult place to be when the only recourse we have is to somehow put the burden on our students, which we hate to do. Community colleges are always the best value possible. So we took great consideration in doing this. We take our stewardship responsibilities extremely serious. But if we don't have the funds to continue to take care of our buildings, we're going to face these kind of challenges again and again and again.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Refunding of bond issues for Bevel State Community College. Mr. Bowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are actually two that I'll address that's okay at the same time, which is the Bevel and the Bishop finances, because they are similar in what you'll be asked to do. The resolutions that will be presented at the board meeting will both be similar. In the case of Bevel, though, this is a refunding of its entire indebtedness. It also includes the prepayment of the application of a portion of the proceeds of their 2016 financing to reduce the overall indebtedness, as well as get interest rate savings on the rest of the refunding, and would also restructure that debt. That will lead to a significant reduction in their annual debt service. In the case of Bishop, it's a new facility financing, primarily to finance advanced manufacturing center on the campus in Mobile, and the bonds will be issued on parity with the 2015 bonds, which are outstanding at this time. In each case, the resolution that is presented to you it will set forth the parameters of the financing and not the final terms. That will allow the investment bankers to pick the right time to go into the market, price the bonds, determine the final terms, and then you will delegate to the chairman or the vice chairman the authority to approve what's called a definitive term certificate that sets out the final terms. But what you set is the maximum amount that can be borrowed, the maximum interest rate that can be paid, the redemption provisions, the arrangements for early redemption of the debt, and other similar terms that you set the parameters for. So it's not an open-ended authority. It's only authority within those parameters to act. And so what you'll have before you at your regular meeting will be a resolution which sets out those particular amounts, the maximum, in particular, the maximum interest rate and the maximum principal amount in each case that will be borrowed. In the case of Bevel, the bonds will be secured by their tuition and their special building fee. In the case of Bishop, it will be secured by the tuition, their facility renewal fee, and their special building fee. In each case, those are the same as their existing indebtedness, so we're not changing the source of repayment of the debt from what they have currently. This also, resolution, as do all of your resolutions, authorize the chancellor, if necessary, to apply other legally available funds, which would be non-state appropriated funds, non-grant funds, to pay for the debt if that ever became necessary. So that's what creates the sort of debt package that's presented to the rating agencies and the insurers, and secures the best interest rate that the investment makers can talk better about than I can, but that's the purpose of that backup provision. It also provides for the possibility of bond insurance. In the current market, a lot of issues that have the ratings that the board does can benefit from having bond insurance, which means that a bond insurer charges a premium, but they save you more interest than that charging the premium. This also permits the issuance of additional bonds in the future, but they have to meet a coverage test, and obviously you have to approve it if they issue additional debt. It's secured by those same revenues. The final version of the resolution, when it's presented to you, will include a form of an offering document, the official statement, It will include a form of the purchase agreement under which the underwriters will purchase the bonds, and it will include what's called a continuing disclosure agreement, which is an important securities law compliance matter, and requires annual updates to the information, financial and operating data that's presented in the official statement, so that the market keeps up with what's going on with the sources of those funds. The Bevel resolution will also provide for a call for redemption of their outstanding debt. And their outstanding debt consists of all bank loan type debt. In the case of two series issued in 2015, it requires the consent of the holder to be prepaid. Hancock Bank is the holder of that debt, and they have consented. They've agreed that they will consent to an early prepayment. In the case of the other two, in 16 and 17, that consent is not required. They can be prepaid at any time. So all that debt will disappear at the same time we issue the debt. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'd just say thankful for the initiative and reviewing these across colleges and the work put together. Presentation that we had, Finance Committee, we recommend proceeding with this. I think it's an excellent step forward to clean up some things and put them in the right order.
And I should say we've got representatives from Steeple here as well as the colleges.
Chancellor, later for that advanced manufacturing center, you'll come back with a proposal on that.
We'll come back with a demonstration of what that all.
What will it entail? And I know there's some little preliminary stuff about the location of that and its need, but it's just kind of cursory and
first item I'd like to discuss. First item I'd like to discuss is a dental hygiene lab for Calhoun Community College. Calhoun has had for a while a dental assisting program. They recently gained approval for a dental hygiene program. The project that we are proposing is a renovation to the second floor of the health sciences building. The facility that we propose will support both a dental hygiene program and a dental assisting program. The health sciences building is building number 2 there on the map of the Decatur campus. This is a picture of the dental hygiene lab at the second floor. I know it's kind of hard to see. But zooming in on the actual area we're going to renovate, this facility, this project will include a dental lab area, a sterilization area, hygiene bays, and also an x-ray bay. The purpose of this project is to allow the program to meet the requirements and the standards established by the Commission on Dental Accreditation. Talking about the cost of this project, the total cost of the project is around $841,000. That includes $666,000 of Calhoun Community College funds and also $175,000 through a Perkins grant. The total construction number of $671,000 really is about 2/3 equipment, with the remaining to be installation costs. We chose to have the contractor purchase the equipment and install it himself because there are a number of connections that have to be coordinated, air connections, plumbing connections, electrical connections. We decided the best way to deliver the project would be for the contractor to purchase the equipment himself and install it. Anticipating a question about contingency, we did include a 10% bank factor, bringing the total project budget to $841,000. To give you an idea of what we think this project will get for us, Calhoun in their approval process to AIC, they did a projection, both credit hours and revenues. We think that this job will produce revenue, tuition and fees of around $791,000 over the next 5 years. There are a number of ways to look at the payback for a project. This is one of them. So between the 5 to 6 year mark, we should generate more revenue than this sort of cost. Can I answer any questions about the proposed dental hygiene facility?
Are we involved with the equipment specification for the contractor, or how's that going to be?
The architect will work with the school to actually specify the equipment and make sure that makes its way into the bid documents. The next 2 projects we have are out at Lawson State. The first, a roof replacement of the Millsap Industrial Training Facility at the Bessemer campus. The designer for this job is Auto Architects. You can see on the map, if you're not familiar with that campus, the red dot is where the Millsap facility is located. Here's a slightly better picture of that. Total cost of this job, the construction cost is actually estimated below the board approval threshold. It's actually estimated to be $466,000. However, it is very difficult to predict roofing cost. We did have a storm about to hit, which could drive up our roofing prices in the area. So we wanted to go ahead and present this to the board to get approval for the project. We did not expect costs to exceed $561,000. Assuming the board approves the project, we will get this job bid this fall, and construction should start after the first of the year. The funding for this project is from Lawson State Community College funds.
Who is that? The local,
The Auto Architecture, Tim Auto, they've done a number of jobs with us. In fact, they are the open-ended agreement architect for Lawson State. I will say that all the roofs we're talking about today have been on for about 50 years. They're the original roofs, originally back from the 1960s. So we've got our money out of these, and we should get at least 30 out of the next set of roofs. Any questions from the Bessemer roof project? Very similar discussion out of Birmingham. We're looking at doing 4 roof projects at the Birmingham campus, 4 roofs with 1 prime contract. We are going to work with the designer and the college to make sure that the buildings are sequenced, to make sure that we don't have all 4 on a roof at one time. We'll further define that in the contract documents. Tim Aho is also the designer for this project. And you can see the 4 buildings in question. These are the academic building,
coverage, as previous years, no change in that. It's just, we've gone over the premium. Does anyone have any questions? The next item is our cyber liability policy. And I'm happy to report that there is no increase in the premium, same coverage as the previous years. The amount of the premium will again be $96,133.52. Any questions regarding the cyber liability?